You know what really gets me going? Forgotten passwords. I came after Thanksgiving break and I couldn't remember a single password. And it really annoys me. Another thing that really annoys me is when I was building reports, having to build a dashboard and then doing all this beautiful customization, getting it just the way I want it, and then having to log into something totally different and build a separate report from scratch. And half my job was just trying to keep those two things in sync. That was my life about 10, 15 years ago. And now, with modernization of reporting with Amazon QuickSight, we're hoping to change all that. Over the next hour, we're going to be talking about how you can all do that in your corporations, in your world, and how you can simplify and make lives like me, who can't remember a single password, a lot easier. So Amazon QuickSight. It starts with the unification of the BI story. It's one-stop shopping. You can have dashboards, you can have paginated reports, you can have AI, embedding, all in one package. Because we built our solution in cloud first, it scales automatically and it performs. And the cherry on top of all this, you can lower cost by paying only for what you need, not for what you expect to happen. So this should look very similar or familiar for most of you, right? A very bifurcated landscape. You have different products for different use cases, different needs, and they don't really play along with each other. Like my experience where I had to build in one application, turn around, build the same thing in a different application, and trying to keep all these things in sync. From an administration perspective, keeping them all the lights on, making sure everything's upgraded, making sure they're performing. That's a lot of overhead, a lot of time spent, and probably very, very painful for everybody. With the world of QuickSight, everything is within one application, one system. It's unified BI service at what we call hyperscale. There's no additional training involved. If you can build a dashboard, you can build a report, and we'll see that today. It's the same web UI. And as a product manager, I can attest to this. We push out features every couple of weeks, and we take pride in that. So let's talk about what is paginated reports. So paginated reports is an add-on service to Amazon QuickSight. It helps with reporting on business-critical insights. Because, again, it is cloud service, cloud first, it allows us to scale with ease, reduce costs, and it's fully managed. You don't have to worry about purchasing hardware, purchasing servers, upgrades, making sure that all the new features are in, because we take care of all that for you. And did I mention you can get started super fast? It's easy to get started with this stuff. So what does this look like? So paginated reporting, as you can see, it's highly formatted, multi-page PDF reports. This is kind of the bread and butter for any business. You can think about your financial use cases, HR, you name it, you have to have reporting underneath it. But that's not where it stops. With QuickSight, you're able to have a combined authoring experience. And by that I mean you're able to build dashboards and reports side by side. One ingestion, one data coming in, and then you're able to get two different outputs out of it. And that's pretty powerful and very unique to QuickSight. And it doesn't just stop with the authoring or the build, but also the consumption for your users. People like me who hate to remember passwords, you just have to log into QuickSight, and that's the only password you'll ever need to know. I did mention we innovate, and we do launch a lot of new features. So since we launched last year at reInvent, we came out with the ability to schedule Excel exports. So long gone are the days of waking up at Monday morning, 8 a.m., frantically trying to download that data before it changes. Now you can have it scheduled, sent to you, and you can preserve the formatting as well for your users. Speaking of scheduling, being able to have that flexibility of getting the reports and the data out to people when they need it, how they need it. Now with the introduction of advanced schedules, we're able to provide more granular control over the schedules themselves. Last day of the month, every 2 weeks, every Friday, all of those different options that we kind of expect and hear from our users, now you're able to kind of get them scheduled. This is in preview, but I wanted to give you an advanced look at it. This is called repeating sections. The concept here is quite powerful. Here we have a table full of data, and we want the system to dynamically create different versions of this for different slices of data. And when I show the demo, it kind of all makes sense. But the idea being the output is quite powerful here. With one click, you're able to create banded reports for any number of dimension values. And it's a very, very powerful concept. And let's not forget our users. By introducing prompted reports, again in preview, we're able to offer users to be able to apply prompt values to create a report tailor-made to data that they care for, when they need it, and how they need it as well. So let's get to that demo. We're going to start with a scenario here. So we are in Vegas after all, so we're going to pretend we are one of the Vegas property owners. We own Site C resorts. We have a lot of properties. And what we want to know is which one of our properties are doing well and which ones aren't. Right? And we're going to measure this through occupancy rate. So let's get started. So for those who are not familiar, this is what the QuickSight homepage looks like. I've gone ahead and favorited a couple of things. One is the analysis, which is kind of my authoring playground. This is where I built my elements. And the other one is the dashboard, which is kind of the end consumer. So let's go ahead and open the analysis experience so we can see how we can actually get this report built. All right. So here you can see that I've already started with a couple of sheets, but the cool part is when you click on this plus icon, you're presented with the option of being able to build a dashboard or build a report. And as I mentioned before, you're able to build these side by side. The ingestion already happened, right? The data is already presented for us, but now we're just presented with, on a sheet by sheet level, making that choice as to what you want to build and how you want to build it for whomever you're building it for. So for this purpose, we're just going to choose paginated reporting, obviously, since that's what the session is about. And we're going to start with that. I do want to point out, as we kind of go through this, I am going to take some liberty in terms of having some things already pre-built, just to kind of speed things along. So first and foremost, let's look at what makes a paginated report unique, right? So what you're seeing here is what looks like a paper, right? A sheet of paper. And that's very intentional because we want the output to look and mimic an output that you would want to print. I know sometimes in this day and age you may not be doing that or consumers may not be doing that, but the form and the look and feel should mimic that. Here you can see we have a variety of different paper sizes to choose from. The ability to choose between portrait and landscape as well. And the ability to customize and configure the margins. So if you're like me and you want to take advantage of as much real estate as you can, let's go ahead and do that as well. All right, so for this particular exercise, we're going to close all this out, and we're going to add a table visual, okay? So we're going to start with, again, we want to be able to measure occupancy rate by property, and that's kind of our goal here. So we're going to start by adding reservation dates, so that way we can see it based on a date trend. We're going to add property ID, so that way we have those uniquely identified from a data perspective. And last but not least, we're also going to add occupancy rate. So there's Couple more that I do want to add, and you know what, this is going to get really boring really quick if you just saw this for the next 5 minutes. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually take advantage of Q and help Q, which is our AI/ML technology within QuickSight, to help build some of this for us. So here, using natural language, I'm able to tell Q that I want to add additional dimensions to this table. So I don't have to necessarily drag and drop, I don't have to place them, I just simply state what I need to do. Pun intended. So I'm going to go add address, state, postal code, phone number, and a few other characteristics as well. As you can see, it's very intuitive and very easy to build and very easy to get started. With a few clicks and a few statements, I am able to build out a very quick report that easily. Again, standing behind that testament of getting started fast. So you can see behind the scenes, we've added all the different elements. We're going to continue adding here the ability to add conditional formatting as well. So again, we're focused on occupancy rate as our key driver to make these measurements. So we want to add gradient conditional formatting to dictate when and how we want to proceed forward. And what you can see here, as it kind of loads, is that it makes certain assumptions and inherent predictions about what it is that I'm expecting. The better the occupancy rate percentage is, it should be in green. The worse the occupancy rate is, it's in red. And that's not something that I implicitly provided or specified in my condition, but it's making assumptions and making those correctly on my behalf. So we have our core table. We're going to continue this by building out what would be looking like a report. So let's go ahead and add page number. We're going to add that in our footer. And you can see we have pre-built system parameters to inherently bring in those characteristics. And then we're going to continue this process by building out a title for the report as well. So we're going to call this the occupancy report. Let's make that nice and large so that way we can see that all the way in the back. And we're going to bold that as well. So you can see that we have these pre-built system parameters in conjunction with the text fields, so that way we're able to build out this report just by dragging and dropping. And this same experience in terms of the authoring experience is how you would build out a dashboard as well. So it's very easy to lift. And no report is complete without having our logo. So let's go ahead and add our resort logo here. Again, pulling that in from my local machine, I'm able to drag and drop into placing it exactly where I need it. From here, you can see that the shell of the report is already kind of coming to life, right? We have our header, we have our footer, and at this point, we're going to flip over to a report that I've already started building, just so that we can kind of move things along a little bit. So here, you can see that the same skeleton of the report exists. At this point, you can see that this table is quite large, right? Because it includes all the properties that we own, every single line item by date. And that's quite large, and it's really hard for us to decipher which properties are doing well and which properties aren't. So this is where repeating sections comes in really handy. What we're able to do now with repeating sections is being able to break this table down by specific properties. So at this section level, which is kind of our building block or our construct by which we build these reports out, we are going to be adding a repeating section element into this. So here, as I navigate to the section here, you can see that we can edit the repeating section. And we're able to specify what parameter, what dimensions we want to repeat on. We're able to repeat on up to 3 dimensions at this point. So you can think about country, state, city, or a hierarchy therein. In this particular case, we're going to focus on our property names. And as soon as I click on that, you can see that in the top right, there's a chip that shows up, 1 of 15. So there are 15 properties that were there behind the scenes that now this table will show for. And as I can navigate through these, you can see that as an author, you're able to navigate to each one of those slices of data and be able to analyze that. We're able to apply page breaks after each one of those. So now it becomes a 15-page report. And you can think about that as many dimensions as you're thinking about, whether it be 50 states, you have other dimensions, company codes, profit centers. Those all become unique slices, unique pages of these reports. You're also able to sort on these characteristics and the dimensions, ascending, descending, and also set limits. Maybe you don't want to see all 15 properties. Maybe you just want to focus on the top 5. So here you're able to kind of set those limits and those considerations as well. So from here, what we want to do next is to be able to add a label, so that way we can actually see what this looks like. We're going to add a label so that way for each page of this report, you can actually see what this looks. So we're going to add a text box, and the focus of here, again, is going to be let's add property name so that way we can see what those look like. And you can see that as I kind of focus in on the data, that each row focuses on a different set of properties, a different set of values, and we want to be able to kind of decipher and distinguish so that way we can make an informed decision at the end of the day. So we're going to be able to drag and drop the value in to its respective location. And this will just make the report look and feel a lot more professional when we kind of print these out on each separate page. All right. At this point, you can see that as I navigate through, all the lists of our properties show up. And as I go from property to property, the values in the table are also appropriately sliced. We notice that Regal Tower Hotel is not doing great, right, as indicated by the occupancy rate. Now, as such, what we can do is either take 2 steps. We can either print this out, schedule, distribute, and send these out to the respective property owners, so that way we can have a conversation about figuring out why and what is happening. Or what we can do is we can actually create a dashboard that allows us to investigate and drill into what is going on behind the scenes. And again, because QuickSight allows us to build together using that exact same data without having to worry about reconciliation or any of those issues, I'm able to build a dashboard side by side. So here you can see that with these visuals, I am able to identify that there are other properties that fall into similar categories or similar pain points. So maybe it should be a conversation that should be had broadly as opposed to just focusing on one property at a time. The other nice thing about building together is that you can copy visuals between each other, right? So the visual that looks well in one scenario, let's say a report, makes sense also in the dashboard world, and being able to build them side by side. So as you can see, the table that we saw on the previous screen is now being utilized here as well. So we're able to share assets, we're able to kind of build together, and we're able to kind of keep these data elements together. But while we're doing all of this together, QuickSight provides the ability and flexibility to be able to publish them as separate assets at the end of the day. So you can see as I go into the publish action, I can choose the specific sheets that I want to get published to. So for those who still like the dashboard as a dashboard, a report as a report, life is still good, everybody will still be happy. But I believe the power, true power of this is being able to provide these not as a choice, but as options for your users. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. So this is from a user perspective. I've logged in and I've come into my report. Not only am I seeing the report that I ran yesterday, I'm also able to go to the dropdown, and I'm also able to see what has all been run for me historically, up to a year back. Right? So anything that is scheduled and sent out to you, you can retrieve up to a year. And that's a pretty powerful concept. So here in this example, I only have 3 instances of this report running, but you can imagine that this list could get pretty heavy. You can also see that as a user, you get a quick and easy preview of what that report looks like right here on screen. You don't have to download the PDF. You don't have to take it offline. You're able to see this data. And as you can see, and as we configured, each property is starting on its own page. It follows the exact same look and feel. The header and footer are identical. And we're able to go through that. In this particular case, the author has specified a date range of the entire month of October. But let's say I, as a user, just want to focus on the first 2 weeks in October. This is where prompted reports comes in. Now, with prompted reports, I'm able to provide, as a user, the option to be able to control what is this date range. The author can similarly provide additional options, such as property name and other characteristics or other attributes that they may want the user to select on or filter down. After selecting October 14th, now the user can hit Run Now and initiate that execution right there on the spot, answering that immediate question that my boss may have had, or take it to the meeting that I have coming up in a few minutes. So while this is running, what we're going to do is we're actually going to jump into our schedule pane via our dashboard. So as you saw, from an authoring perspective, I was able to build these together. From a user perspective also, I'm able to consume these side by side. I'm still able to answer those important questions about what is happening, why is it happening here from a dashboard perspective. But I'm also able to go back and see what was that point in time. What did this data look like as of yesterday? What did this data look like as of last year? And I'm able to do that in the same UI without remembering a separate password. So here you can see that this table is interactive. I'm able to scroll through those tables. I'm able to filter. I'm able to slice and dice it. So you can still get into the information and into the nitty-gritty details as you need it. But as an author, the true power comes in being able to get this information out to the people in the hands of how they want to be able to consume it. So that's where our scheduling comes in. Using this mechanism, you can see that we're able to create a schedule. I've created one for reInvent. And if I go into the edit mode, you can see how the author can provide the information and when they need it and how they need it. So from a content perspective, we had PDF and CSV, and as I mentioned, we've added scheduled export for Excel. You're able to select the specific visuals, not just in the paginated report, but you're also able to select it for the entire dashboard. You're able to select pivot table and table visuals and be able to get them all exported out in one Excel workbook. In addition to this, we're able to now also create that schedule to specify when we want these to be sent. So in this particular example here, let's say we want to send this out weekly, every 2 weeks, or bi-weekly, or monthly. This is where we're able to kind of do that and create these schedules customized to when people need to receive it. So let's say we want to send this out every 2 weeks. We want to send this on a Sunday and Friday, and we're able to get this started at the end of this month. So from here, what we're also able to do is select the recipients that we also want to be able to send it out to. So that's what the next step is. But it doesn't stop there. But we also want to be able to control how this data gets distributed to you. So when we think about data privacy, data security, we may not necessarily want our reports to be actually sent as attachments, but rather sent as links. So that way we can authenticate who is coming into our system, who's downloading it, and when they're downloading it. So you're able to then go back, and let's say we want to remove that permission or remove that access, you're able to do so without worrying about this report floating around in the ether. We're also able to include a sheet in the email body as a preview, right? So you're able to kind of quickly glance at your mobile device, and you're able to kind of see what the first page of that report looks like, be able to kind of take a quick action. And if I want to really dive into the details, I can either download that, go into the dashboard, and I have all those different options that open up for me. And you're able to make this choice not only on a PDF, on the email overall, but on an attachment by attachment basis. So that way you're able to really customize in the look and feel. Once we have this output scheduled, you're able to go back, as I mentioned, go back up to a year previous to see all the prior runs and be able to download them. From here, you can see that I have quite a few runs executed previously. And we can open up one of the Excel outputs and PDF outputs as well, just to kind of see what that looks like. From here, we can see that the raw table and the raw data that we downloaded and looked for is kind of what is preserved from a formatting perspective and look and feel perspective. So this is our PDF output, and our Excel output follows very similar to this. All right, with this, I'm going to turn it over to Jesse from Topgolf to take it from here.
Thank you, Rahul. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jesse Jung. I'm the BI manager at Topgolf, and I'm here to share our journey with AWS QuickSight and how we use paginated reports. So what is Topgolf? Topgolf can be defined in our purpose. We exist to bring you joy through more ways to play the game of golf. Whether it's our traditional Topgolf venue, like the one you see here behind the MGM, which is our flagship venue, or our swing suites, our Top Tracer games, Top Tracer fitted driving ranges, or even our mobile and gaming as WGT and Shankstars. We're trying to find unique, innovative, and fun ways to engage our players. So how do we start here? How do we get here? Well, we started with one venue in Watford, England in 2000. 23 years later, we grew to 86 venues across the US. But our growth doesn't end there. It extends to our international partners. We have venues in Monterrey, Mexico, Oberhausen, Germany, Dubai, UAE, Chengdu, China, Bangkok, Thailand, and Gold Coast, Australia. But we don't just measure our growth with our venues. We measure our growth through the experience that Topgolf brings to all of our players. That's why our mission is to enable our players to hit 50 billion balls by the end of 2025. And with our impressive growth and the ways that we're bringing the game of golf, and more ways to bring the game of golf to all of our players, we are confident that we're going to beat that goal fairly soon. Now, with our impressive growth and also the ways that we're expanding the game to all of our players, Topgolf isn't anything without our players. That's why even a single visit brings us a lot of value with our data. To give you an idea, I want to show you what the data looks like through a player's journey, specifically a visit. The visit comprises of three components: the pre-game experience, at-bay experience, and post-game experience. During the pre-game experience, we want to see some insights with our visits. Are players using our reservations during really busy times? Are they utilizing to prefer our join the wait on our mobile app? Or do they prefer just to walk in? With our memberships, we want to see trends and growth in the different type of memberships we offer. And at the Bay Experience, that's where the fun happens. We have the gameplay. Who doesn't like to play Topgolf? That's where all the real fun happens. And also to enjoy really good food and beverage. But to support that, we need to make sure that all of our software, hardware, and systems can be accurate. And when we see this through such things as ball stats, are our balls getting traced accurately? Are our targets scoring accurately? Are there dispensers not showing errors? There's nothing more infuriating than going to a venue and you line up your ball, you hit that awesome drive, hits the back of the trench, and it says practice ball, right? We want to minimize that, and we want to maximize on fun. And the post-game experience. The post-game experience comprises of two things, the Bay metrics. With the Bay metrics, there's some insights that we need to understand how we can efficiently turn over bays. For instance, once the player's done playing games at the Bay and they check out, we want to see how long it takes to turn over that bay to the next player. We want to minimize that wait and maximize on fun and make sure that our players are having a good time and not frustrated with long wait times. And the PX survey, this is very critical because this provides direct input from our players about their overall experience. Now, showing you how much insight we have just from one visit. Back in 2021, we realized there was a critical need to have a BI reporting tool upgrade, especially with the sheer number of the volume of data that we have from each of our venues, from our growth, through our international venues. We had some issues with a prior tool with handling that data volume. Yeah, we had issues with reports and dashboards, rendering for not just 1, 2, 3, but even 5 minutes. Just couldn't handle the data. And nothing is more frustrating than someone working at the venue and in operations when they're waiting for their profit and loss report to load and load and load when they have time to take care of their operations and day-to-day tasks. And also, we wanted to make sure that we were able to provide the data in the hands of all of our folks. Now, we all know, with BI reporting tools, licensing is expensive. Reader licenses, author licenses. We wanted to make sure that we can enable our users, but keep the costs low. And who doesn't like the future of analytics? We wanted a BI tool to provide all that. For example, the capabilities of machine learning, AI, and many more. So back in March of 2022, we approached Amazon QuickSight. Thought, well, let's see if QuickSight can handle our. And through a meeting, we had a week-long data lab. Data lab was 5 days long, and it was grueling, 8 hours each day. And we really presented and stretched every single use case to AWS QuickSight support team to see if QuickSight could handle it. And after that week and thinking about it, we were fairly confident that QuickSight could handle our reports and needs. So we started our migration in July of 2022. And in less than a year, we converted over and migrated 171 reports and dashboards and went live in production with the reports and dashboards in the hands of all of our venue operators and all of our corporate playmakers in June of 2023. But during that time, we also identified a need for paginated reports. It was just a year ago, literally a year ago, I was right there and I was listening to Rahul talk about paginated reports. And it just, a light bulb just switched in my head. And I was thinking, wow, we could really need this. Reports such as a profit and loss sheet or any kind of highly stylized format financial report that you need a look and feel, a general ledger style feel, can't be accomplished with your traditional means in dashboards or tables or any reports. So I reached out to Rahul, and we had another data lab. Do you see a kind of theme here? The support was unmatched. They saw our need. We went into the data lab for 5 days again, in and out with all of our different use cases. And we made sure that we presented them with the use case of having several different types of these type of reports being ready for automation for all of our domestic and international venues. But not only that, but we delivered through email and through some flexible formatting as well, such as CSV, Excel, and not just a snapshot of a PDF or a screenshot of a PDF, but the entire report. And also to be able to enable security on top of those reports, such as row-level security and column-level security. And I want to say the feedback from after our completion of creating our reports was great. It was outstanding. The support that we received from the AWS support team was above and beyond. Yes, there were times where we had questions, we got stuck, but they just jumped on. No matter if it was 11 o'clock at night or early in the morning, when we had issues, they were right there to jump on a call with us. And to be quite frankly with you, I've worked with several BI tools, and I haven't seen that level of support. Because of that, it really enabled our users to be successful in developing these reports. Just by the ease of creating the paginated reports and the guidance that the support team gave us, built us up for a successful conversion for all of our legacy reports, and delivery and automation to those reports for all of the venues domestically and internationally. And another thing that I can't stress and highlight enough is the flexibility of the scheduled reports using CSV and Excel formats. Because of the successful migration and use of paginated reports, we're excited for the future and continued partnership with AWS. Thank you for your time. I want to hand it back to Raul.
Thanks, Jesse, for that. So far we've been talking about one report at a time. But we're a large resort with thousands of people checking in and checking out all day long. So we don't want to sit there and download one report at a time. What we want to do is take advantage of these APIs, snapshot export APIs that we just recently launched, to be able to report at scale. By that I mean, not necessarily redoing these reports one by one. You're still wanting to build it once, but you want to be able to get all these reports out into your own S3 bucket, from which you can then distribute, print, send it off, however you want to consume it, get it in the hands of the right people. So let's kind of take a quick look at what that could look like. So here you can see that from an authoring perspective, I've still built the report the exact same way, right, that we just saw before. You're able to build this report out specific for a reservation at a time. And let's say I went out and I wanted to check out at Mandalay Bay. Somebody's probably printing that report out for me. And that's OK. But what actually happens when you check out? It happens the night prior and it's slid underneath your door, right? And imagine it's Thursday night and everybody's checking out at reInvent. You're not going to sit there and hit it one by one. You want the system to have everybody's checkout slip pre-printed and ready to go. So that way they can start putting it under people's doors. And that's what these snapshot export APIs will allow you to do. So here you can see that this is still confined. I've authored it once. I want to make sure that for one person it looks great. And then I want to just mass produce and send it out at scale. So what I'm going to do is I am going to show a little bit of code, and hopefully that's OK. But we want to still keep it at a high level and kind of focus on what is the important aspects here that we want to focus on. And we're going to also see here that from a reservation perspective, which is kind of what we want to iterate over, I've hand-selected a handful of reservation IDs just to kind of illustrate the concept as well. We don't want to necessarily go here and do it for all our reservations, but we just want to kind of take a handful and kind of you get the idea of what could be possible at scale. So I have this Python code in the background. Basically what it's trying to do at this point is set up the environment and make sure that we're able to call the snapshot export APIs that we've built out. This API allows you to not only print out PDF reports, but also select CSV and Excel as outputs and be able to do those all collectively. You're able to see here in this section where we're going to stop, you're able to specify what dashboard and what sheet that you want to print these off for. You're able to select the format types and, more importantly, specify the parameters as well in the bottom. For our case, we're going to be doing this for all reservations, and we want to be able to do this at scale. And that's kind of where the important part comes in, where we want to be able to have this programmatically generate and create these reports at scale. We don't want to necessarily be able to kind of control the environment as it is. So you can see here, that's the reservation ID that we're going to be iterating over in this particular example. So as we kind of proceed down this process, you can see that we're able to also monitor how these jobs are running at scale. So that way you're able to see as these jobs are getting completed, as these jobs are in progress, how we're progressing along in our journey. So we're going to iterate this over a couple of times just so that we can see as the executions happen in the background and in the process as such. So you can see here, as we kind of go through this, each one of these line items represent a unique reservation number. Imagine this is happening for all of these resorts, and behind the scenes, this could be in the thousands, but behind the scenes, all of these are generating that same PDF file and same report that we looked at earlier. So now all these jobs have completed, and now we can go to our S3 bucket where we ask the files to be stored, so that way we can take a look at what that output looks like. We're just going to do a couple of cleanup steps at the end. And now we're going to jump into our S3 bucket at this point. So while the files could be stored in the QuickSight S3 bucket, I believe the key value proposition here, or the key value is derived when it can be stored in your own S3 bucket, from which you have the opportunity to send it out to whomever you need. In this particular case, we have the folder structure as defined, running for specific days, and you can see that we can run this on a daily, frequent, whatever frequency that we need it. Once I open up this folder, you can see that there are those specific line items and specific PDF files that we ask the system to generate for us. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to Dhanraj to join us on stage for 3M.
Thanks, Rob. Thank you, Rob. Hello, everyone. This is Dhanraj Sri, an enterprise data architect for 3M Health Information Systems. So 3M announced its plan to spin off the healthcare business into its own entity, and that would be completed by early 2024. 3M Healthcare business would become a dedicated global diversified healthcare technology company focusing on the following areas: the oral care division, the wound care, separations and purification science, and health information systems. That's the division I belong to. We are the leading coding and reimbursement software in the world. The results over years speaks for itself. The 3M Encompass coding system is used by 1,000+ hospitals around the globe. We uniquely process around 205 million documents, clinical documents each month. Our software is used by 30 countries around the globe. 41 states uses us as a basis of payment, and we have around plus active industry partnership relationships. For For over 35 years, we have worked with government agencies, including Medicare and Medicaid services. For 40 years, we have medical coding expertise, and our risk adjustment algorithm accurately calculates payment benchmarks for around 2% of US GDP. Earlier this year, we announced our partnership with AWS in the AI space to improve our clinical documentation. Today, I would be talking about two interesting use cases where we are using Snapshot Export API. First one is the Performance Advisor workstation, and the second one, performance metrics reporting. When development work on the Performance Advisor workstation, we had several goals in mind. We wanted to ensure that we eliminate the manual PDF generation process, PowerPoint creation by the users, because that was prone and possibilities of data loss. So we wanted to automate that process. The Snapshot API seemed to be a perfect fit for this solution. We wanted to ensure that the have a particular tool where they are able to run their workflow from start to finish without navigating into other tools that they were doing currently. And finally, we wanted to ensure that we are able to generate all this PDF outputs into a single document so that it could be used for pre and post analysis by the performance advisors. So let's go over what performance advisors' responsibilities are in a day-to-day work. Basically, they are looking at the discharge claims for a patient and seeing the trend, clinicians providing enough information or documentation for that particular patient once they are admitted into the hospital. This enables them to track how severity of an illness that patient has, or what the risk of mortality is, and the clinicians are basically monitored over there. So we monitor various KPIs. Those are like severity of illness, risk of mortality, major complications and comorbidity, and observed to expected deaths. So basically, we are seeing patterns to see if a particular clinician or facility is moving in the right direction. So this triggers various training that needs to be provided. So we help the customers and provide them the appropriate training so that they are moving in the right direction. So here's a screenshot of the existing application, the PA workstation. You can see that we deliver around 50 to 80 dashboards per customer. The reason being, like, there are a lot of filters that need to be selected, the various DRGs and the service lines. So that's why the number of dashboards that are generated are pretty huge per customer. All these dashboards get eventually clubbed together into a single PDF, which are then used for post-analysis by the PAs. So on the left-hand side, you see the list of dashboards that are available for walkthrough with the customers. At the bottom, you'd see they would be able to enter notes on what they really need to talk with the customers. And on the top right-hand side, you're able to see the QuickSight embedded dashboards, which is tracking the various metrics for the. Now we can quickly go through what a workflow is for a PA in the field. So basically, they come in and select the various criteria. Based on that, they have a work list to work on. That's followed by they select the various service lines and DRGs, and they click Update Walkthrough. That's going to provide a list of dashboards that they can choose and make special notes on what they need to the customer. Here are the various metrics that's part of the analysis, and they can take special notes which are captured at the bottom of this analysis. So here's a quick video on how the final deliverable looks like. So as you can see, these are 50 to 80 pages of PDF outputs that's generated to the Snapshot API request. So all the various metrics are being tracked, and you can see that it's an output which contains 80 pages. So performance was one of the main criteria that we wanted to follow through, because we have data processing that needs to happen for customers. So there are situations we get requests where we call it as a data storm. That's like running 300 reports for 300 plus customers, and it's a batch process. But there are other case, what I just talked about, where the PAs are working directly with the customers and we need the PDF generated in a shorter time span. So we collected all this information, all the KPIs or metrics to see how much time it would take to build out the presentation. As you can see, as the number of dashboards increased along with the number of concurrent users, it was taking way too much time to get those PDF results output. It wasn't an issue with the batch processing where we, for this data storm events, but for a real-time PDF generation, this was a problem, and we are working closely with AWS product team to ensure that we get optimal output or get the results back in a shorter duration of time. Moving on to the next use case, this is performance reporting. So we try to leverage QuickSight as much as possible. So this project, all the coding was done using our RStudio packages, and it was running on heavy infrastructure, a lot of EC2 instances, and we had to spend a lot of time managing this hardware. So we wanted to ensure that when we migrate to a new technology, we get rid of all the servers and spend more time in generating business for our customers. So we were able to also implement the snapshot API. In this case, the exports were CSVs rather than PDF. So this is a simplified architecture. We totally got rid of the EC2 instances, and it's orchestrated using step functions, and we use Lambda to generate our reports. So the first step is basically getting a list of customers or enterprises for which we need to generate the report. That's followed by a function. Basically, it's we have two report types. It's either for an inpatient or an outpatient setting. So we generate multiple pairs of reports for each customers. That's followed by the start dashboard export API. This is basically triggering the export API process and generating those CSVs into and pushing them into the S3 bucket. So we have wait stats in between. This is to ensure that there is enough queue available for the to be submitted as we proceed. The generate report is basically calling the describe dashboard API to check the status of the completed jobs. Once it's completed, the exported results are in the CSVs, which we copy to a template, which is in the reporting format, and that's the final deliverable for our customers. So once the whole process is completed, those are all zipped into in the S3 bucket, and that's pushed out to the report delivery location. If there are any failures along the way, start dashboard export API call, and we try at least 3 times before we send it to the error log. So the key is over here is for these two projects where we implemented the snapshot API, is we were able to streamline the process for the PA workstation where it's a one-stop shop location for the analyst, and they need not go to any other software, but they have one location where they can just click a button and be able to get all those PDFs along with the notes which are critical for analysis with the customer. In case of the performance metrics reporting, we were able to get rid of the EC2 instances and move to a total serverless architecture. And it's totally automated from start to finish. And finally, we are working closely with the AWS team to fine-tune our real-time requests in generation of those PDF reports for our PA analysts. With this, I would like to hand over back to Rahul to conclude the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Dhanraj. So over the course of the hour, what we were able to do was build out a report. We were also able to build out a report that actually could scale. And we could analyze not only which hotels were doing well, but also handle their operational reporting needs as well. We were able to do this with QuickSight by having a unified authoring and consumption experience. We were able to build them side by side, a dashboard and a report, and we were able to provide that same flexibility and control over to our users. So that way they could choose and not have to pick. And if you remember, not have to remember 2 passwords. As a result, we were able to get very highly formatted, printable reports. If you recall, we were able to pick what paper size, what orientation, what margins, where elements should be, what they should look like, and how should they fall on the page. With the introduction of the new features that we looked at, with the schedule export of Excel, advanced schedules, so that way we could do last day of the month, every 2 weeks, Friday, Saturday, etc. With the snapshot export API that Dhanraj just talked about, where you're able to mass produce these reports and be able to stitch them together in various capacities. Not just PDFs, but CSVs and Excels as well. And we also saw the repeating sections, which is in preview, and prompted reports that allows you to create these reports at scale, where we're able to create a separate page for each property. We're able to provide our users the ability to select what date range they want to be able to run this report for. So we're very excited about what 2024 has in store for paginated reports. And I would like to point out that this was the first QuickSight session that we had today, but there are a lot of other sessions that are coming up this week. There are quite a few that are going to be starting in Mandalay Bay later on today, and some Tuesday and Wednesday as well. So I do encourage everybody to join our QuickSight sessions. We have a lot of different talks about Gen AI and Gen BI elements that are coming up, embedding, DevOps, etc. I would also encourage everybody to sign up for our community page. There's a lot of activity that goes on there, questions that you need to answer, that you may be able to get answered by your peers. You're able to kind of learn together. There's a lot of different talks that happen on the community channel itself. And there's a lot of different updates that are going on for reInvent purposes. With that, I would like to thank you everybody for their time and attention, and really appreciate everybody. Thank you so much.